All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle a really unsettling idea, one that affects every single one of us who touches a keyboard or a screen. And no, that isn't some kind of exaggeration. This quote really sets the stage for the reality of our digital lives. There's a conflict happening right now, on our phones, on our laptops, and it's a war that is here to stay. So, what's at the heart of all this? It's this idea our source material calls the backdoor default. And it's a pretty chilling thought. The premise that no computing system, absolutely none, is secure right out of the box. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the central claim, and it's a big one. It doesn't matter if you're on a Mac, a PC, or Linux. It doesn't matter how often you update or where you bought your hardware from. The starting assumption, the new default, has to be that a vulnerability already exists. And if you're thinking, well, I have nothing to hide, you have to remember that to these attackers, that doesn't make you invisible. It just makes you a much, much easier target. So, if we're in a war, who are we actually fighting against? Well, that's the tricky part. It's not one single enemy with a clear flag. This is a battle being fought on all fronts by a whole bunch of different players with completely different motivations. The battlefield is just huge. We're talking about everything from these self-replicating software worms and sophisticated state-sponsored attacks to plain old corporate espionage. The threat even goes all the way down to the hardware itself. And now it even includes malicious AI agents. Let's actually break down what some of these look like with some real-world, kinda scary examples. A perfect and very recent example of a worm is this thing called Shai-Hulud. It infected the NPM JavaScript repository by targeting developers with phishing emails to get their login credentials. But here's the kicker. Once it got in, it didn't just steal data. It used that infected developer's machine to inject itself into even more software packages, creating this massive, destructive snowball effect. And then you get to the state-level stuff, and the patience is just astounding. This timeline for the XE backdoor is a masterclass in it. This wasn't a quick smash and grab. An attacker spent years, literally years, just patiently building trust in an open-source community. And why? Also, they could eventually gain enough power to insert a backdoor that would have compromised countless Linux systems worldwide. The only reason it failed was pure luck and the incredible focus of a single engineer who noticed a tiny performance lag. So you see, the threats are coming from everywhere. You've got governments who have been doing this for decades. Look at Operation Rubicon, where they secretly bought a Swiss encryption company just to weaken its products for surveillance. Then you've got corporations doing it, like Facebook's Ghostbusters project, which used a VPN service to intercept and decrypt Snapchat's traffic just to get a competitive edge. And of course, you have criminals who are just in it for the money, like with the Shai-Hulud worms stealing cloud credentials. But what if I told you the problem goes even deeper than software, all the way down to the silicon itself? Researchers from the University of Michigan actually proved that it's possible to plant a microscopic, virtually undetectable hardware backdoor on a processor. This gives an attacker full remote access to the operating system right from the chip up. You'd never even know it was there. It's a lot. Cybercriminals, spies, corporate rivals, even the hardware itself. It is really easy to feel completely powerless in the face of all this chaos. But the first step to fighting back isn't some new piece of software. It's a way of thinking. It's about building a mental roadmap to navigate this hostile new world. Exactly. The whole key is to move from being a passive target to an active defender. And to do that, you need a method, a mental model for understanding and anticipating these kinds of threats. You know, a really powerful way to build this mental model is to start thinking like a security researcher. And trust me, it's not as complicated as it sounds. It just means using what's already known about threats to build a structured way of thinking about your own security. It's all about creating a personal framework to analyze the risks you face. You can actually do this in 3 pretty simple steps. First, just identify the key threats that are relevant to you. Is it financial crime? Is it something else? Second, learn what the experts are saying about those specific threats. And finally, apply that knowledge to your own situation. How do these threats specifically impact you, and where are your gaps? And look, this isn't just about passively reading news articles. That's more like a literature review, the what and the who. This is about actively building a foundation for your security mindset. It's about understanding the why and the how behind the attacks, so you can build a real structure for your own defense. Okay, so a solid mental model is crucial, but it has to be built on good information. So every analysis, every personal security plan has to start with one simple practical step. You have to collect the information. Before you can build your defense or draw any conclusions, you just need the raw material. You need to understand the details of attacks like the XC backdoor from articles, security reports, and expert analysis. This is ground zero. For example, a security pro might use tools to automatically extract and analyze data from thousands of breach reports just to find patterns. Or maybe you've used an AI tool to summarize a really long technical article about a new threat. The goal is always the same: efficiently turn a huge amount of information into usable intelligence. This is the first practical step. So we've seen the problem, and we've looked at a method for understanding it. Now let's bring it all back home to what we can actually do. How do we live and work in a world that is backdoored by default? And this right here is the most important takeaway. No antivirus, no firewall, no single tool will ever be a magic pill. The ultimate defense is not technical, it's behavioral. It's about changing how we think and how we act every single day. So what does this look like in practice? Well, it means being proactive. If you're a coder, lock your software dependency versions so they can't be updated without you knowing. For everyone, be absolutely militant about not clicking links in emails. Use an application-level firewall to see what's calling home. And critically, just slow down. Think before you act. Fatigue leads to errors, and attackers count on those errors. So get proper rest. Our source mentions an investigator who works with whistleblowers. And this quote perfectly captures the new default mindset. It's not about paranoia. It's about a state of constant, calm awareness. It's a behavioral change that keeps you focused and makes you way less likely to make a simple but devastating mistake. So that leaves us with the final question for you to think about. The world has changed. The old assumption of digital safety is gone. In this new reality of default backdoors, you have to choose a new default for yourself. What's it going to be?